So welcome everyone to the online Christmas regional. And our first speaker this morning is Alice Potter. So Alice, I'm just going to share screen with you. So I'll stop sharing. I'm just going to take a quick photograph of that. Just stop sharing. And Alice, um, can you share your screen?
Yes, I can.
Excellent.
Good morning, ladies.
Morning, Alice.
So let me know when you can see my screen. Can you see me?
Perfect.
All good? Okay, off I'll go. So I'm Alice, and I am a social media confidence coach and a Pink Link member. And I also am an EVAs winner. I won in September, highly commended for One to Watch. So that has been amazing. So lots of people ask me what a social media confidence coach is. Basically, I identified a huge gap in the market of people that want to learn how to use social media, but they just need the tools and a little bit of advice and hand holding instead of just paying somebody else to do it. So that's basically what I do. And I absolutely love it. I've popped a little quote on for one of my clients, which basically just encompasses the type of work that I do. But Alice is attentive, knowledgeable, and the biggest, best cheerleader you'll ever need to build your confidence with social media. So I was asked by the lovely ladies today to come on and talk about 5 essential social media strategies to take into 2025. So when we talk about strategy, I think that sometimes that can be a bit of a triggering word for people. Strategy, for some people is great, but for other people, it can be quite overwhelming. So when we say strategy, it genuinely just means a plan or something to prioritize. So I've spent 2024 giving a whole lot of advice about social media to lots and lots of people and businesses. And I wanted to kind of encompass 5 things that I think are really valuable pieces of advice to take into 2025 and to really bear in mind about your social media and what you're doing. So everything that I'm going to talk about, the 5 steps that we're going to go through, can be applicable for any kind of platforms that you use, but they are 5 things to really bear in mind. So something that I would encourage you to do, and I'm happy to share the slides as well after the presentation if anyone wants access to them, is just to take a little bit of time and really think about the 5 things that I've spoken about and how you can really implement those things going into the new year. So number 1 is let them see you. So it's so important now more than ever. The polished content is great, but the more authentic storytelling content that we can do to really let people know who we are and what our business is and what we represent is the stuff that people really, really find entertaining, and also something that they can really kind of it builds up that know, like, trust. They feel like they have a little bit of an insight into what you're doing. So video content is huge on social media at the moment. If it's not something that you're tapping into, then I would encourage you to really, really think about that for your strategy in 2025. So there's so many different things that you can do with video content. It doesn't need to be a half an hour video. Most of the time you can do a really good reel for less than a minute and a half, and it can be just enough information to really give people insight to want to join you in your world. So you can talk about your journey, so your business journey. You can let people know what your values are as a business. You can give them behind the scenes information about what you're doing. People love to be nosy, basically, and they feel like if you're letting them into, come with me on a day, see what I get up to in a day in my business, they feel like they kind of know you a little bit more, and that really helps build up that relationship and nurturing that relationship with them. So so it just helps with that discoverability. And we run our businesses and we should be proud of that, and social media is free. So let people see you and who you really are. The amount of people that I meet and say, you're exactly the same in person as you are online, should be that way. People should get to see you in the same way that you would show up in person. And that doesn't mean you have to be on camera every single day of the week. It just means showing up authentically for yourself and really allowing people to understand who you are and what your values are for your business. The next one is choose your platform and amplify. So lots of people feel like they need to be on every single platform. I will tell you now that will burn you out to try and be on 5, 6, 7 different platforms all at once. So make sure that you're using platforms that your target audience are hanging out on, or it's just a useless amount of your time. So I always say to people, choose 1 or 2 platforms that you really enjoy and that people, your target audience are hanging out, and make sure that those platforms and your content is optimized. When I'm talking about optimization, I'm talking about making sure that you're using keywords in your posts. If you are a business that's based in sole location, make sure you've got your location tags on where you're based. Make sure there are lots of vital parts of the building the foundations for your profiles that a lot of people get wrong. And by not having keywords in, for example, their Instagram names or in their bios, then you're making yourself so much harder for people to find. And when we're choosing platforms that we want to use, it's making sure we make use of all of those features. So if you're using something like Facebook, are you going live? Are you posting video content? Are you interacting with people? If we just post text posts on Facebook, we're not using all of the platform features in the way that we want to do it. So be versatile, use all of the features in different ways, and you are rewarded for the way that you actually use your platform. And the same with Instagram and things like that. Use things like the questions, use things like the polls. They are so easy to build up engagement just from literally posting something on a Monday morning and saying, oh, how does everyone feel this morning? Like, do we want to go back to bed? Are we ready for a new week? Or what do you like on your chips, ketchup or gravy? You would be shocked the amount of engagement you will get just from asking questions. And obviously, polls are great for market research too. So if you're wanting to do something or launch something, whether it be a product or a service, jump on your stories and ask some polls and some questions, because you will get really good feedback from your audience. Who are the people that potentially are going to be the people that are going to want to invest in you and your services? So make sure you use all those features that you're offered on the platforms that you want to use as well. So social media was created for us to be social. And what I find is a lot of businesses will post and then literally go offline and do nothing else. And then they come to me and they say, Alice, why is no one engaging with my content? Nobody likes my stuff. Nobody comments on my stuff. And I always will ask the question, are you engaging with other people? And usually they're not. So engagement is essential. It's called social media. So if we post content and it gets 0 engagement, we might as well print it off and post it in a magazine and hand it out to people in the street. The whole point is to create something that's going to make people engage. And let me be clear, I have posts that bomb. Every single person has posts that don't do well, don't get as much engagement as you would think. And that isn't something we should be scared of. It's actually something we can learn from and think, how can we reframe that in the future? Maybe this post didn't work because it was a static photo. Maybe it would be better if I spoke about it on a reel, or if I thought about it in a different format. So being social, engagement is essential. So on average, someone needs to see what you do online 168 times before they want to invest in what you're doing. And that is because people's attention spans are so tiny now, the amount of content that we see on a day-to-day basis. And when I say 168 times, this doesn't mean 168 sales posts. It means tiny touch points of, here I am, I'm at this event today, or this is an incredible testimonial that I've had from a client. And just giving people little touch points all the time and insights into what you're doing. You don't have to post on social media every single day to be successful on it, but you need to build up a level of consistency that really gives value. And if you're putting content out there, you've got to put it out there for a reason. So yeah, no posting and ghosting. We don't post content and run away. If you're posting something, or especially if you're scheduling something, still make sure once you've got that post going out that you're going online and contact and engaging with other accounts, because it's going to get people over onto what you've posted and seeing what you've and wanting to engage with what you've done as well. So plan your content around your upcoming month. So work with yourself and not against yourself. The amount of people that I speak to that say, I've not got time, I don't know what to post, if you look at what's coming up in your upcoming month, look at the places that you're going with your business. It might be a networking event. It might just be a meeting with a client. It might be an event showcasing something or something that you're doing to educate yourself. And actually, most people will find they've actually got 5 or 6 posts already that just from being at that event and maybe snapping a couple of photos can really kind of alleviate that stress of I've got nothing to post, I've got nothing to post. Then obviously you can work your content pillars around that and make sure that you've got really kind of valuable content that's going around those places that you are. But we always have stuff that's coming up that is a potential that will do well on social media. Especially if you've gone and connected with people and posted a picture from an event, those people will want to connect with you from that point. And, you're showcasing that you're social, you're getting yourself out there. And basically, you've got a community of people that you're working with and putting yourself out there too. And the last one is analyze and reflect. So with social media, it's you versus you. Comparisonitis is huge, and it's so easy for us to overconsume content and go, well, she's doing this and she's doing that, so maybe I should change everything I'm doing because they're doing that. And actually, if you focus on your messaging, your offering, and the reason why you started your business in the first place, everything you do is for yourself. So analytics are so important to be looking at on social media. I look at my analytics at the beginning of the month, every single month. It's really easy to access them on any platform that you use now on the professional dashboards. And they really help break things down for you. You can see what posts have worked well. You can see what posts have necessarily not worked as well. And by tracking your analytics, you can it is just you versus you. You can continually work on, well, I've had really good reach this month, but my engagement's been really low. Well, next month, let me work on things. How can I build up my engagement? Oh, okay. Well, why don't I do some polls, or why don't I work on engaging with more people and see if we can get that back? So always reflect on what you've done. Always spend that time, instead of doom scrolling and looking what other people are doing, spend half an hour really looking into what works for you, what your audience seem to like, and then it makes planning content for the future even easier. So those are my 5 top tips. And also I've got a couple of different things that I've got going on. So I do 3 30-minute discovery calls. So I'm always happy if anybody just wants to have a little bit of a chat about social media. Anything you're kind of struggling with, then you can obviously use this QR code and it take you to this page. I've also got a couple of little offers. So I've got an offer for a £99 Instagram refresh. So this is a full Instagram profile audit for that will be done so that you can start 2025 with a fully optimized profile. It also will break down any content that you could repurpose for next year. And then also I've got some online workshops on the evening of the 2nd of January. So it's a whole it's a 2-hour session with my friend Victoria, and that integrates things like visibility and confidence coaching, and how to do virtual business cards, vision planning for 2025, talking about identifying your brand values and your target audience, and really helping you get set up of creating a soul-led business going into the new year. So those sessions are £22, but I have got an exclusive offer, and you can access those workshops for £11 if you would like to join us on the evening of the 2nd of Jan. So as always, if you have any questions or anything that you would like to ask, feel free, just jump into connect to me on social media. Feel free to ask any questions, and that's my bit.
That was very good. Thank you. That was brilliant. I love it.
Thanks so much,
Welcome. It's
Lots
so weird
of
when you're
tips.
talking and it's silent and you're like,
I know,
nodding?
it's awful.
Are they nodding?
We're all on mute, so we weren't interrupting you to talk. Thank you.
Welcome.
I have a question.
Of course.
And it's something that we spoke about the other day. On X, the old Twitter, we've got over 15,000 followers, and we don't want to lose them. But at the same time, we're seeing a steady decline. It's like a trickle, but there's definitely not the same engagement that there was a couple of years ago. And I was talking with somebody else, and they were saying something similar. They've got lots of followers over there, but there's not much engagement. Would you continue to keep posting on there, albeit just like a small amount of posting just to have your presence?
Yeah,
Or
it wouldn't necessarily be something I'd do a separate strategy for, because it does seem to be trickling off.
Yeah.
But there will be posts that you've got that can be repurposed on multiple platforms. So obviously it's making sure that those important posts stay for things like events you've got coming up and things like that.
Yeah.
Certain platforms are a lot better at assessing who actually follows you. And I was talking to you about this last week. Instagram have got a new feature now, and if you go on your followers, it will actually show you what accounts are following you that have now deactivated your account. So literally in one click, you can get rid of all of the accounts that are deactivated. Loads of people are a bit taboo about, oh, I don't want to delete followers because I'm going to have less followers. But if you've got 100 deactivated accounts following you, your engagement is always going to be low, because they're never ever going to engage with your stuff. They've deleted the account. It doesn't exist to them anymore. So especially with the following and stuff like that, there's a real shift that needs to happen, because I always say to people, if you woke up with 500 new followers but only 10 of them were your target audience, you've only actually woken up with 10 new followers. So it's really about the quality of your audience and having followers that actually are interested in what you've got to say and want to engage with you and, you know, go on that nurturing journey. So there's a huge shift that needs to happen. As I've said, I am one for, I'm like, delete your followers that don't care, delete your nans and your uncles and your aunties and these people that don't care about your business, because when they're looking at your analytics, they're not buying. They're not paying my mortgage, you know.
No,
I love that, Alice. That's brilliant.
I had this conversation the other day with somebody, and he asked me about our e-letters, and you know, he was talking about numbers and stuff, and I said, to be honest, I take people off if they're not engaging with us. I'd rather that we just sent stuff out to people that were actually interested in the shit we've got to say, rather than having like loads of people on there that just never read it. What's the point? For me, it's about the actions they're taking.
Yeah, definitely. I met with a client a couple of months ago, and they work for it's like a bird sanctuary. They rescue wild birds when they come onto people's work sites and stuff. Very, very niche, basically. And she said, oh, well, I've taken over the Facebook and we just keep losing followers. And I went on the Facebook, and they're affiliated with like 2 football teams. They sponsor 2 football teams. One of them is like AFC filed. And every month they do a competition to win tickets to the football. And I was like, your audience are football fans who have followed you because they want to win football tickets. Your audience do not care about wild birds, which is why you're getting 0 engagement, why you're getting people unfollowing you. I was like, if you're going to do a competition, you have to make it specific to your brand and your business. These people don't care about birds. They care about the footy. So you're not actually helping yourself. You're going, oh, we're doing a competition and growing our audience. You're not growing it to the right people. You're growing it to random football fans that don't care about wild birds. So it was a pointless exercise, if anything. So it's really important to, you know, message the right people. I'd rather have 50 people actually who want to benefit from what I'm doing than 5,000 people that actually don't really care.
Can I just add on to that? Because weirdly enough, Lizzie, again, you guys are mind reading me today. I've got nearly 7.5 followers on Twitter as well, but I've lost 700, so it's just zoomed down. Have you tried Blue Sky? Has anyone here tried Blue Sky? I just needed to know, is that worth a shift to? What do you think?
I've not tried it purely because it's just a whole other platform to
manage. That's what I mean. Yeah, is it worth it? Can I build it? Yeah.
Well, Alice, didn't they mention this on that marketing course we were on the other weekend with Dell?
Yeah, it's just.
Was it Nicola Peake was talking about Blue Sky?
Yeah. And they were just saying, obviously, it's a hype thing at the moment, so it's exciting to join. But also, Blue Sky's been around for ages. It's not a new thing.
Yeah, it's
just people are jumping on the bandwagon because they're coming off X for whatever reason. But it's just, do you want to create more work for yourself? Do you actually think your target audience are going to be there? Because if they're not, you're just going to burn yourself out. And this is what happens. People feel really overwhelmed. and feel like they need to be everywhere, but then they've actually not got enough time to be everywhere and be in their business as well and show up. So it's really important. Find one or two places that you really thrive and do them really good, and then potentially grow in other areas. But you don't have to. You can be really good on just one or two platforms.
I think it's like Lizzie though, you sort of feel sad about the followers and you feel like you've just, spent a long time, but yeah,
of course,
just gotta cope.
I sort of look at it from another way. I just think we put a lot of time and effort into Twitter or what have you, and if nobody's actually buying from Twitter, why keep going on it? Because it's time. I mean, yes, it's free, but Lizzie's not free. Do you know what I mean? I have to pay her time to do that and all the rest of it. And it's like, if you put time and effort and it doesn't work, what's the point?
I do think, though, there is also that thing of where, and remember when we were starting with Instagram and we were like, oh my goodness, is this the right platform for us? Is it a little bit too fluffy? Is it a business people actually going to be on there? And then after a few months, we were getting calls from, what I call like the serious corporates saying, oh yeah, we've actually seen you on Instagram, but they hadn't clicked on anything to even say they'd liked it, but they'd been.
Yeah, but we know that customers have come to us from Instagram, from Facebook. There's certain platforms from LinkedIn that we know work for us, i.e. that people have said, oh, because I always say, how did you hear about us? Like every time. And somebody says social media, and I'll go, which platform? And it's like, we know all their messages, don't they? But Twitter, are we getting anything? Sorry, X, formerly known as Twitter. Do you know what I mean?
We need to start tagging Elon Musk in and saying controversial things.
Would we be better off ditching the Twitter and putting more into TikTok? Because we know TikTok is going up, whereas Twitter is going down.
Yeah, but you're still getting impressions from your posts, which I'm not saying. I think. Sorry, we're having a conversation here. Like, and please join in if other people.
Social media talk. So
yeah, I think that to me, it's just sort of like posting occasionally on there, but not spending a lot of time and effort.
Yeah, like Alice said, the events and stuff, which I thought was a good point. So
yeah, just having your presence.
Very good, Alice. Thank you.
Any other questions for Alice?
Sorry, can I just jump in on this conversation and ask Lizzie a question?
Of course.
How do you find the performance for Pink Link on Instagram? Because I've got a similar issue. I'm like, I feel like Instagram's maybe not got, like I'm a bit too serious for Instagram in my business. And I don't know, I really want to get on Instagram because it's my native platform. It's where I'm most comfortable. LinkedIn is where I'm spending a lot of my business time at the moment. But I just wondered how Pink Link found Instagram, whether it's any good for your sort of business.
I'd say that we get lots of people who book on to our events after seeing posts on Instagram. They're not necessarily clicking through from Instagram. They're often going straight to our website, but they are seeing us, and just the fact that they're seeing and thinking, oh, because they'll say, oh, I've seen so and so's coming, then they want to get involved. Or it might be to do with networking, or see you're all networking in Liverpool or wherever. Then they'll be saying, how can I get involved? So we do get direct messages, but as I say, we also get people who will not click through the actual links, but will come to our website just because they've seen it. I think it's a valuable resource for us. So yeah, I would say we get good engagement.
I also think the younger generation, so I suppose it's also about who you're trying to reach, but the younger generation now, Instagram it's all on Insta. Like I was away at the weekend, and the young girl I was speaking to there, she's like, when I say young girl, she's like 30, but she does nails and stuff. She said nobody goes on Facebook. Like Facebook is for old people like me. I'm classed as an old person now. And so we're on Facebook, they're all on Insta. She said people just are not bothering on Facebook anymore. which I thought also was very interesting. But we do, and that's because our audience is old people like me, some of them, not all of them. We have some young people, but we also have old people. So
I think it's finding that balance as well, isn't it?
Yeah, and Sean, if you need a hand, literally just book a discovery call, and I'm more than happy to give you a bit of advice. Instagram's my hero platform. I love Instagram. I'm so at home with it. And sometimes you just need a little bit of advice, really, and I'm happy to give it you. That's not a problem. Did you have a question, Amanda?
yeah, she did.
Yes, I do. Thank you. Alice, I think you are ace. And then I realised that's actually in your name. How utterly perfect. So thank you. I love your vibe. And I'm just, as you were talking, I was scrolling through on Instagram with all your soul entrepreneur stuff, and it looks really good. So one question for you is, on the 4th of February, where is your face in-person event?
It's in Blackpool.
In Blackpool.
Yeah, it's just it's near Blackpool North Station, so you can either get the train in or you can park. There's a couple of car parks near. So yeah, the online events, well, the in-person event is £55.
Yeah.
And you get the online events included, which are in Jan.
Okay.
So if you were to purchase the online ones for £11 today, then you'd only have to pay £33 extra. You still get the £11 off. For if you wanted to come to the in-person as well. But I thought, because I was coming on today, I was like, I won't talk about it in person, I'll talk about the online, because I know that some ladies are further afield. But yeah, the online stuff in the online workshops are basically, they're revisiting what we did at our last event, and we had really, really good feedback from them. So we wanted to create, we wanted to kind of revisit them online. And allow other people that potentially couldn't have made it to go through those workshops, because they were really helpful.
Okay.
What's the content on the day, Alice?
It's Entrepreneur in Feb. So the content for February is mindset, messaging, and we've got a private chef that's coming in. He's doing like a really nutritious lunch for us. We've got a panel of 3 business ladies. Also, it's on my social links if you want to look into it. We've got a panel of 3 experts, and then there'll be sessions. So we actually start off in like a sister circle setting, but you can sit on a chair. You don't have to sit on the floor. So it's all going to be about messaging, imposter syndrome, and basically how we can create a soul-led business going forward. So it's a collaboration with myself and actually a lady who, she won coaching with me, Victoria, and now we're like literally best friends. We've created a really beautiful friendship and business relationship. So she's very holistic, I'm very strategy, and we kind of blend together what we both know, and we're very much for women building business from their souls, doing something that feels aligned to us, looking after ourselves, but also, you know, excelling in what we do. So that's what Entrepreneur is, and it's lovely. It's just a lovely environment. So I'd love to have you all join it, because it's fantastic.
Love that, Alice. Yeah, I'll let my members know about that as well, because
fantastic.
a lot of them can't make it today. I have updated them, going, you can get to see a masterclass.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Fantastic.
Lizzie, what's the pyjama pie?
Oh, on the online workshops, you can wear your pajamas. Also, I'm actually wearing pajama pants right now.
Love it. I could not tell.
No, business on the top, pajamas on the bottom. It is.
I'm exactly the same, Alice. I'm also wearing pajama bottoms.
Do you know what? It's the energy we all need. It's December, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Thanks for the chocolates.
Can I ask any more questions for Alice?
I've got a couple that are connected. So what building is this workshop in?
So it's called That Alternative Studio. So downstairs is this huge room. It's like a huge infinity cove. But what we do is we light it up. We make it all pink and make it like an infinity cove pink circle. It's gorgeous. And then upstairs there's co-working space. So our masterclasses after lunch are going to be upstairs in an upstairs setting. So we have lunch up there, and then we have the workshops. Lizzie's been to one of my masterclasses there. So yeah, we have it's a nice mix of like a little bit of like woo-woo, but not too much woo-woo, like nice, ease you in woo-woo, and then also some learning as well. But no, it's lovely.
I don't think you'll need to ease me into that, Alice.
I was gonna say, yeah, she's so
I love it. And my other question, which is relevant to everybody as well, is when I'm going on your Instagram, which is very impressive.
Thank you.
And I look at this information for your events. As I'm scrolling down, you've got this sort of amazing bolt on. I don't know if people can see it there because the light might not be so good, but a form comes up where people can put their information. How do you make fancy stuff like that happen?
So I have a CRM. So it's actually a similar CRM that PinkLink use, that's connected to my website. But one thing I will say, if you ladies want to do anything with forms or anything for events, just do a Google form. Google Forms are free to create if you've got a Google account. And before I had my website and my CRM, I would create a Google form. And the good thing about Instagram is you can use your highlights where they're the only place you can put external links. So if you're doing an event or you want to do a form or get some feedback from people, you can save it in a highlight. So it's really easy for them to access it. But even just a Google form, they're really, really helpful, and they can really help with market research and things like that, as I said before. But yeah, so that's just set up through my website that I built through my CRM. You can have forms and stuff as part of it. But it's nice because when people sign up for the events, they can give us a little bit more information. Similar to when you ladies book on for anything like PinkLink, they've got exact same similar functions. It's definitely helpful.
Amazing.
So thank you. Is that anybody else any questions? Well, thank you so much, Alice. That was great.
Thank you.
So are we going to move? Who is it next, Lizzie? Is it? Bear with me one second.
Leon on next.
Yep, just bear with me one second. Let me go to our slides. Oops, sorry, next one. So we would like, thank you, Alice, that was brilliant. So we would now like to welcome Anne from Customer Love. So I'm just going to take a quick photo and bear with me one second. Anne, would you like to share your screen?
I will. I'm just going to talk first.
Okay.
Okay, only because I'll see my screen and I'll have gone too far in. So I'm Anne Williamson from Customer Love. I've got a marketing background from far too many years, but my business and my marketing background has always been about building relationships with your customers, hence Customer Love. And in my head, being in business is just like dating. It is all about building relationships. And I'm going to take you through before, during, and after a date using some good and bad examples. I use the bad examples because I want people to think about things that they receive that potentially go, really? For the wrong reasons. And then just think, actually, is that maybe something I do? Okay. And I think there's a lot to be learned from the bad, because when you start to improve bad things, you stand out from the competition. And believe me, you'll start seeing really bad things everywhere. So starting before a date, imagine there you are online or in a pub, whatever. What is it that makes you actually want to consider that date? How would you feel if somebody kept calling you the wrong name? Yeah. And you say,
Wise meal.
Absolutely. We're going to get some.
Surprisingly, I get it all the time.
Yeah, it's incredible, isn't it? I mean, I'm with an E, and honestly, that simple E really annoys me. But I've been called all sorts, and I'm going to show you what I've been called online. I've been called Gary. Now, I've got no confessions here. I just get called Gary. Not only that, Gary, and I'm going to bubble it up and kind of call you tomorrow and all the rest of it, yeah? Gary doesn't exist. There is no Gary in my business. But the best of it is, my email address is ann@. There is no Gary at, there's no info at, there's no sales at, it's ann@. So I look at this and I go, okay, what's going on here? Well, basically, somebody has bought data. They think I run a physio clinic, okay, and they're sending me constant, but this is definitely bought data because I get Gary from many, many, many different companies. Okay, so if you are using data, or if you've got a CRM that you've imported from one system into another, check that it all lines up and do that simple checking of, is this going out to the right person? And just flick across to the email address and think, actually, hang on a sec, we've got something wrong here. Believe it or not, I actually email these people every now and then. I'll get along and I just say, just let you know, I think you bought some data and it's got the wrong details in it. They never ever reply. Do you know why? Because it's just mass email marketing. So be personal, make me feel special, make me feel you want to date me. Okay. And that's a really simple way to start our relationship, which is what customer experience is all about. It's about making me feel that you want me as a customer. And I did have a slide and I've taken it off because I'm conscious of the time, but for me, customer experience is not about wow moments. You hear people doing it all the time. Right, we've done this because we want to wow our customers. No, iron out the niggles. That's what customer experience is about. Those little niggles that decrease your sales. Okay, so look at simple things like this. And I'll give you I was trying to find a good example, and when you just go, oh, I can't find it. So just a really simple thing, having an online chat, if that's something that you can facilitate, be on it. Don't have online chat and then it says, oh, actually, we're going to be, we only do this between the hour of 9 and 9:30. Have online chat, because we are instant, just like social media, we are instant. We want that reply. And if you can't solve my problem, I'll go somewhere else. So consider these people here are saying, you know what, is there anything I can help you with today? Actually, I put, yes, please. Okay. They get the sale because they're there. They're showing that they want you as a customer. And this, just those simple things that you can do to show. Okay. At the moment, give you another bad example. So I've got a query on something and I've done an online query and it says we'll take 3 days to reply to an email. 3 days. We're instant these days. Okay. So what can you do? If somebody's got that volume of customer inquiries, they need to consider bringing in more people to help customer inquiries, because people just end up going elsewhere. So first things first, before the date, show me you actually want to date me. Okay. And then the other thing is, show me that you care and that it's about a relationship. Then we go on to a date, don't we? So we've done it and we've said, yay, I've met somebody. He come with the right name. He seemed interested. He seemed like he wants to get to know me. Right, we're going to make a date. And this is just the same in business. We've got an inquiry. What are we going to do with it? Have I made you feel that I want you to do some business with me? Do you make me feel special and I want to be your customer? So what happens next? Here's what not to do. So I moved into a new house and it already had an energy supplier. I've obviously deleted a lot of the details in here, and it's and you had to go online to register an account. Well, they sent me these letters. They sent me many of these letters, and then I go to put my new address in. There's no address for this postcode. Wow. Okay. So now I'm feeling, do you really want me as a customer? And then they say, oh, we can't actually do this online, so now you need to ring this phone number. Well, after an hour on that phone, I gave up, and they now are no longer my energy supplier. Okay. So consider, are you making it difficult for me to date you? Are you making it difficult for me to have a sale? Okay. So have a look at your processes and have a look at your communication. This is a simple thing where a database isn't tying up to either Royal Mail's postcode finder or another address management system. So, there should be something out there. And I'm not being funny, but the house had been built a year before I moved into it. So it's not like it wasn't around. So have a look at your systems and just check, are you taking me through, getting dead excited? Yay, I'm going to go on this date. And then suddenly I go, what am I doing now? Oh, this guy doesn't actually want to date me. Okay. So consider this. And then, am I having to figure out, what do I do? Or are you making me feel special about getting together? So these are just some really nice chatty emails. You'll notice that I put the good examples. I will put the name in. The bad examples, I'll never tell you who they are. but I'm sure you've got plenty of those yourselves as well. But have a look at the kind of chat that you're doing when we're having that date, that sale going through. So this was just a really nice one. It told me that it'd been delivered, told me it was gone to my safe place, and then see some information about your order and let us know how we did. It was just a real chatty email, okay? So just consider, what can you do? Are you doing those standard emails that are set up in systems already, or are you making it very personal? And then this one, this was, again, it was something I requested a refund, but then it gave me some helpful tips. It gave me, want to go and check something else. It wasn't just, we've processed your refund. It went through lots and lots of things, okay? So think about that. When I'm your customer, when we've had that date, when we're in that date, how are you making me feel? Okay. And do I feel like we've got something special going on together? And then we go after. So you've had the date, it's gone good or bad, who knows? Did you do that whole talking all about themselves? And you went, oh my goodness, no story. Or did they ask you questions? Did you feel special? Did you feel like you really wanted to go see them again? Well, what happens afterwards? Did they follow up? Did you have to wonder whether you're going to have a second date? Or did you think, no way, Jose? So follow up. Think about what we're doing when we're following up with customers. Can you believe this? This is a garage who pride themselves on customer experience. I see it everywhere. They talk about how amazing they are at customer experience. We're top customer service is our main thing. And then so I take my car there, and I have to say, in fairness, as an actual organisation, the whole thing was really good, the actual service, etc. And then they send me an email. How do we do, A? Nearly as bad as being called Gary. Yeah. Again, a simple check on processes, just seeing, that whole good experience has suddenly gone, right, okay. Nobody's doing a simple thing here, and it's making me feel like, right, okay. To be fair, I don't even think I filled in the feedback. And normally I'm hot on that because I think it's a big thing. It's very valuable in asking for feedback. So have a look at your processes again there, because all these little things change that experience. So that was a good experience from booking it to having the service to then being undone afterwards in a real simple, not putting in 3 more letters to spell my name. Okay. So when you're collecting data that you're putting into forms, have a look. And if somebody's only putting initials, because sometimes people do, when it says first name, they'll just go, I'll just put A and see what happens. Yeah. And that's obviously what's happened there. They've just said, what's your name? And I've put A. Williamson. And then they've just carried on that communication using A rather than going, the first name has to have more than so many letters. Okay. So to me, that's a real turn off. Here's some great examples. I've changed the names in this one because it was actually a client of mine sent me this, and I was like blown away. So they had bought a service, and the company was absolutely brilliant. They had a sales team who obviously initiated the before and the during, and then they said, okay, now that we've brought that service to you, here's what happens next. And they explained it really good, really clearly, but also took that care, because they didn't just say, so now we're passing you over to Fred and Mabel. What they said was, we need Fred and Mabel now to introduce themselves. So it was that whole nurturing process. So consider this when, if you're in a bigger organization or you're working with bigger organizations, how can you make that personal interaction still feel very personal and feel like, that you're engaging with the customer and that they feel really involved as well. Okay. So I thought this was a really great example of how a large organization with sales teams could change so that the other people didn't feel like, oh, right, we got sold to and that was it now. And now we've been dumped. They didn't. They said, right, well, the next bit isn't my bag. We're going to move you over to somebody else. And then those people introduce themselves. Okay. And then just think about how you engage with your customers after as well. So this was an organisation that I did some work with, and then I just got this out of the blue, and it was just like, wow, just it's such a lovely surprise. It's something they make, so the cost in there is the candles and the postage. They make the actual candlesticks, but they didn't treat me like a one-night stand, and that's what it's all about. It's about building relationships. And then I think another thing to talk about is about how we engage with people after we've done the sale. So yes, they've sent me a gift. Yes, the other people have moved through and said we're going to engage with Fred and Mabel now. But just think with yourselves, how else can you engage? And Alice talked about social media. That's great. Follow, engage with your own customers, connect up with them, connect and actually comment on their posts. And I do a lot on LinkedIn, especially, where I will do private messages to people and say, I've seen a post about this. They're asking for your service. I tend not to post it on the actual post, because then everybody else who I'm connected to goes, oh, I'll just recommend my person. So I tend to send it privately, and I'll say, look, these guys are looking for this. I think it's right up your street. And I do that a lot. And it's not for another sale. It's about building that relationship. It's about showing that I still think about you as my customer. And another thing is about asking for feedback. And loads of people will avoid this. But imagine if you were on a date and then you heard nothing from them. You'd kind of want to know why, wouldn't you? And it's about, and if it did go well, again, you want to know why. What do they find attractive in you? And if it didn't go well and they told you why, you'd hopefully make some changes, wouldn't you? So asking for feedback is very valuable. And again, look at the negative, because quite often somebody will tell you something and you go, we already do that. Or, gosh, I hadn't realized that was having that impact. And it's some really simple things. All of customer experience is about making tiny, tiny, tiny changes to make a massive improvement. Okay. So first things first, check your communication. Check all of your communication. 2, explain what happens next. Okay, don't leave me guessing where we're going to have that date. Don't leave me guessing when my order might be delivered, or how do I find where you are. Yeah, involve me, make me feel like you actually want me to be part of your business. And then 3, build relationships, involve your customers and show them how much you value them. And I think this is a big part where people do miss it. They just go straight into who's next, who's next, who's next. One night stand, one night stand. Okay. So I'll do any questions, but just before that, I just want to say, so like Alice, I'm running some workshops next year, but I've not organised those properly yet. So I've got another 3 tips on how to improve customer experience, and they're written out. If you want to connect with me on LinkedIn, I'm there. But you can email me or WhatsApp me on my phone number, and I'll send you that. It's a PDF of 3 more tips. Okay, any questions? I'll stop my share now.
Dan?
Yes.
When did you get the gift from Relic Plastic?
About 18 months ago, because they've kind of gone now, and Kiki's gone to do study now, hasn't she, further? Yeah.
So I deal with Relic Plastic as well.
Right, they're brilliant, aren't they? They're such a great company. Oh, is that where you got them from?
Yeah,
I didn't realise. Right, yeah, they're an amazing place if you want to go and have a look at them.
Yeah, no, we've been up. Lizzie and I went up initially to meet Kiki, but yeah, then Kiki left, and obviously we deal with the chappie there now, Martin.
Yeah.
Any questions for Anne?
I wanted to say that was really, really good. I think the customer experience is so important, and I think there are so many things that people don't think about. One of the most important things that I think you spoke about was the feedback, and it can be really daunting to ask for feedback. One of the last in-person events that I did, we actually had feedback forms for people, and we gave them to them about 15 minutes before they finished, and we said we'd really, really appreciate if you could write about your experience, write about your feedback. And then when we sat and went through them, we actually went through them and cried because the feedback was so lovely. And when we actually looked at, was there anything you could do to change? The amounts of, no, everything was perfect. No, this was fantastic. No. And then I think literally from the feedback we had, one person was cold for about a half an hour and they wanted more knives when we served food. And we were like, okay, that feedback is really helpful though, because even those little tiny bits of feedback, which really they're not affecting our egos in any way, they really help us for the next event because we go, okay, we'll bring all the knives with us and we'll whack a heater on and things like that. They really do help.
But if you didn't ask,
no,
then the next time somebody go, oh, I'm not going to that because I was actually cold. But you can actually say, you can even say, bring a blanket or we'll provide blankets or whatever. But if you don't ask, and I've got loads of examples of feedback. One of the things I will say with feedback is don't ask questions you're not going to act on. Times you'll get something and it'll say, rate us from this to this. And they don't ask you why. Why did you give us that rating? And I think, like Alice said, that feedback of it just touches you when you get it and you just go, oh my gosh, I didn't realize the impact. And the other big thing with feedback is that it gives you your marketing messages. It gives you the words that customers use. So reflect those words back out and you'll get more customers just like them. Whereas you see people and they go, I mean, we worked in a mail order company and we'd do 3,000 orders a week and we'd get something back. And we had, what to think of the products, etc. But then we got customer suggestions for new products, but also we had people, I remember they'd say, oh, there was a problem with a particular product. And we sold stickers and stampers and things like that. And the customer service, I wasn't in customer service, I was marketing manager. And the customer service girl said, oh, there's nothing wrong with these. And I said, well, there obviously is. So we need to go and have a look at the process here. And then we had things like a sticker that wasn't smelling as much as it should, a scratch and sniff sticker. That's a mouthful. But if we didn't do that feedback and we didn't ask about it and that person didn't complain, there was actually 2,500 of those stickers that didn't smell right. But only one person complained. The other 2,499 probably thought, what crap product that was. Yeah. But we could go back to all the people who'd ordered it and say, we're really sorry, there's been a problem with this. And it's about acting on that feedback and not taking the negative to heart. See it as right, okay, somebody's not happy with this. What can I do? And quite often, it's something that you already do. Oh, I wish if you did this. Oh, actually, we do that. But we don't talk about it enough. Okay. So look at feedback. I've got a whole thing on feedback. It's my bag. I love it. But yeah.
It's very important though that when you get your feedback, if you get something that's that is negative, that you act on it. It's like that's like we need to know how we can improve things. If we're doing something wrong, I think it's really important.
And go back and tell that customer.
But also at the same time, Anne, there's different ways of asking for feedback as well. Because yes, when you're at the meeting and you give them the form, that's great. But also, I think sometimes having it so they can do it without saying who they are, so they can be honest.
Yep, absolutely. I mean,
with a follow-up email that says you don't have to put your name on.
So there's a couple of things there. So I try and capture feedback in the moment. So I would use something like Menti. So menti.com, that's free. You can do word clouds. You can ask for paragraphs. You can get those things displaying up on instantly if you want to, or you can do it private. So somebody just literally does it on the phone. They don't have to register. You don't know who they are, and they just fill in, and you can do questions on that. That's brilliant, Menti. Okay. It's really good on the word cloud where you ask them, say, can you give 3 words to describe today's event? and then you'll get a really good word cloud. And obviously, the bigger the word, the more people have actually used that word. When we send things out after, we've lost that heat of the moment. Okay, and we have to chase and chase. So I think asking people in that moment, I do a lot of video, so I will say, can I just ask you to describe today's event? And then one of the questions I like to ask is, what one thing could we do differently? Okay, and that, because when you say, what did you think of today's event? And you'll get people, oh, it was great, loved it, but it doesn't give me my marketing. So what one thing would you do to describe today? What one thing would you do differently? What one thing can we do differently? Okay, so what one thing would you do different as a result of today? Okay, what one thing can we do differently? So like with Alice, knives and a heater would be good. Yeah.
And how do you spell Menti?
It's MENTI.com or Mentimeter, might be the website.
Brill, thank you.
No problem.
I saw something the other day and I thought, oh, that's interesting. And it was like almost a photo booth, but it was set up so that you could actually do a review on, like straight away. And then they were using it to do like a vox pop type thing afterwards. I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah, that's a lovely idea.
Yeah.
Well, if you think about it nowadays, how many times do you go to toilets and they have a happy or an unhappy button, don't they? Like a red and a green one. So if you go to the toilets and they're not clean and tidy, you can slam on the bloody red, go, ah. But if you go and they're really clean, it's like, oh yeah, I'm very happy. And so that must be, they probably use that to trigger a cleaner to go down or something to check if they get lots of people going red, red, red.
Yeah, that's.
There's some kids that get hold of it though and just go.
Then 10 cleaners turn up.
Yeah, Amanda, that's you. That's not kids. That's just you playing on it, isn't it?
I was going to say, I'm afraid I'm one of those kids, Amanda. I love those kind of things. Like Alice was saying about polls. I engage with polls on Instagram just because, I don't know, I like to press the buttons. I'm a big child.
Good job you're not in charge of anything nuclear.
Green.
Any other questions for Anne?
Can I just
add one thing just to say, because that was so helpful and I really enjoyed it, and I can't wait to read your book. I've got it in my pile. I'm always reading books. I've got it in my pile. That sometimes when you're getting feedback, you will know intuitively as well whether it resonates with you, because some people, having been in situations where it's not so much with my workshops, but when I'm involved in bigger things and you've got much more of a bigger variety of personalities giving feedback, sometimes it's the emotional state of the person that they're just projecting onto the feedback. So you have to be really, knowing in your own mind whether you have done a good job or not, because sometimes people will just put some stuff in and it's got nothing to do with you or your event. It's just the person.
Absolutely. And I think there's two things in there, isn't it? It's about their state, but also about your honesty with yourself and going, have they got a point or not? And if they're not happy, was I maybe not the right person for them? And there's nothing wrong with that. Like Alice said about social media and having accounts that really don't have any connection. It's the same with customers. Sometimes we have customers that we shouldn't have, and that's a big thing. People won't get rid of some customers. It's my, one of the things I talk about when I mentor is about,
it's liberating getting rid of customers.
It is. And I always say it allows room for the perfect customer to come in. But if you're wasting your time on somebody who's really draining, it's affecting customers.
I have an example of this, and I won't mention names, obviously, but, and Lizzie will know who I'm talking about, but we used to have a customer that used to exhibit with us every event we did. And at every event we did, she would find something to complain about, like, there's not enough lights here, or I don't like this position, or I don't know, she had to wait 2 minutes for the coffee to be refilled or whatever. She was never, ever happy. Everybody else would be going, oh, great event, good buzz in the room, no complaints. Every time she would complain about something. And the girls used to get a bit, disappointed. And I go, right, every time she comes, we need to make sure we are giving her the best position, address the light situation, keep giving her more love, make sure we keep spending more time with her, invest in this woman. And eventually, because it was like a challenge, to get her to be happy. And then eventually she came to a meeting and she was like, oh, that was amazing. And we were like, oh my God, do you know what I mean? It took us years. It took us years to get there. But she finally said, oh, that was a brilliant event. Well done. You've excelled yourselves. We were like, now we know we're excellent.
You see,
I think you should know you're excellent before then, though. It's really interesting, that pattern, because she just decided to be happy that day. That's really emotional stuff. I cut people off like that now. Just don't tolerate it at all, because we get trapped into this focus of thinking the energy needs to go in that direction, and it actually is better in other directions.
Well, my team used to avoid her. They used to be like, I don't want to talk to her, because
I'd just be honest with her. I'm just straight on honest with them.
And I used to say, no, let's make it a challenge to make sure that at some point she's not going to complain about something. But yeah, they used to avoid her. They used to go, oh God, I don't want to talk to her.
It's just like dating, though. We've all got that friend who is sticking with that other half, and you're just thinking, geez, how much are you going to take? Just get rid of them.
It's so freeing. Like it's so freeing to say no to people as well.
And then they really want you.
And also as well, we don't have to say yes to every single person if they're not aligned.
Oh, trust me, I've got loads I don't let back now.
Yeah, but that's the thing, like, and the customer isn't always right, and they're not always aligned to us, and it's okay to work with someone to a point and go, actually, this isn't working, and it's nothing personal. Just sometimes it just doesn't work, and they would be better off with somebody else, and you're making room then for the right people and the right experiences, because it can be so draining working with people that you just aren't aligned with. Even if we do things and we're stressed and we're like, oh well, it's money, but is it worth your mental health? No, it's absolutely not.
No. And if somebody wants to look at this more, because I come from a coaching background, there's something called the Karpman drama triangle, and it's about rescuer, victim, persecutor, and it's really, really, really powerful if you don't know that model already.
Yeah, drop it in.
Yeah, sure.
Drop it into the chat, and then people can have a little Google of it later. Right, where are we up to now, Lizzie?
We are ready for Grace, so bear with me 1 second while I just get Grace's picture up. Hold on a second.
What time are we supposed to be finishing, by the way?
12. We're fine.
Yeah, that's what I thought, 12. Yeah, we're on time. Look at us on time. Crikey, load of women and we're on time.
Oh, bear with me 1 second. For some reason I've got that. Sorry. So thank you, Anne. Great presentation. And we definitely don't want to be seen as a business that's a one-night stand. So yeah, love that.
Can I also, sorry to interject, I know you're just about to introduce Grace, but can I just say, I would also like to say, I would highly recommend Anne. Anne's been doing our case studies this year, which have been invaluable to get feedback from our customers to find out what it is that they like, so that we can focus on that. So thank you to Anne for that. If anybody's interested and don't have case studies, they are a really important part of your testimonial process and your marketing. So please do connect with Anne for that. So thank you, Anne.
Lovely. So our next presentation is by Grace, and she is going to be sharing some tips about how we can be healthier and let's go live well. Bear with me 1 second. I stop sharing. Here we go. So Grace, can I just double check before you share anything? Mm-hmm. Have you got permission to share? Coral, is Grace a co-host?
Let me have a look.
It looks like it.
Yes. Hang on. Yes.
Super. Over to you, Grace.
Let's see. Let me know if you can see the slide.
Yes.
Great. Let me just make it bigger.
Yeah, it's not on slideshow mode.
Okay. Has that put it on slideshow mode?
Yes, there you go.
Okay, well, hi everybody. Firstly, Alice and Anne, thank you for great presentations. Really interesting and definitely learned a lot. I loved the dating analogy, Anne. I thought that it's really going to stick with me that. I'm going to tell some of my friends about that. And Alice, definitely really, I jotted down some information some of your ideas about doing more of the polls and questions. I definitely don't do enough of that. So good tips. Thank you both.
Grace,
So,
sorry, just before you start, we've got it so that it's not showing the right way. It's showing your next slide at the time. And I'm just thinking we're going to be sharing it with the group, and I know that you'll want it in the right formats. So can you just go back to your display settings?
yes.
And
hang on.
I think there's one next to it.
Yes, display settings.
And just try that swap presenter view in slide. Yes, that's it. Okay, so can you please stop, because then I'll clip it so that it's nice for you.
Sure. Is it showing nutrition and health?
Perfect.
Okay, great. Thank you. So give me a shout as we go if the slides start doing weird and wonderful things. So I'm Grace from Go Live Well. I am an ex-HR manager turned nutritional therapist, an all-round health enthusiast. It goes far wider than just nutrition. I retrained a few years ago at the College of Naturopathic Medicine, and I spend most of my time either in my one-to-one clinics with my private clients working on their health goals, health coaching and nutrition advice. I also do some corporate work. So I'll talk a bit more about this at the end, but going into businesses and doing sort of employee workshops around well-being and engagement and things like that. And then I've just launched my very exciting health and wellness retreats for women. So I'll talk about both of those more at the end. For right now, we're going to just cover some sort of core principles of healthy eating, very not got super long to go through it. So it is very much headlines, but hopefully some really practical tips. And we'll also cover a little bit about how to navigate Christmas, because it's a really difficult time if we're trying to eat healthily. So could I ask, just to kind of get us thinking all things nutrition, I'd love to know for you guys what gets in the way of healthy eating. What's your greatest barrier? You can either shout them out or put them in the chat. An example to get sort of the thoughts going. Quite often people will say it's misinformation. So they read one thing one day and it says do this, and then you read something the next day that says don't do that, it's really bad for you, do this. So what is it for you? Is it time? Is it know-how? What is it? And I can't see the chat. Can I? Let me see.
All right.
Oh, yes, I can. Okay. Yeah, no time to plan, 100%. Family pressures and expectations. That's interesting, Sylvia. What do you mean by that?
When you're expected to attend and eat what's presented, regardless of what your requirements are.
Right. Yeah. So if it's particularly unhealthy or not something that you would normally have, you feel sort of awkward saying no, thank you.
Yeah, I take a leaf out of my youngest brother's book, but night before the race, he will eat something, and whatever it is, it'll be chicken and rice for fuel. And my mum would always do something else. And he was like, well, if you're feeding me tonight, it has to include this and this. And he was like, no messing. And I was like, I need to do that more.
Good, firm boundaries. I like it.
Yeah.
Easy to say, not easy to do always. But yeah, that's so true.
It's like, I prepared this specially for you. Yeah, but I don't want to eat that.
Yeah, oh, that's so awkward to navigate, isn't it? Okay, yeah, definitely. Lizzie says no planning and then unhealthy choices. Oh, that trips me up more than it should as a nutritionist. If I'm disorganized, which of course we all can be, if I've been busy and not been to the shops when I should have been, I end up having something that's kind of cobbled together that you could barely call it a meal, but it just has to do because I'm on, doing things on the hoof. And it's just not the most nourishing thing I could have had. So that, yeah, I really do relate to that one. Too many snacks in my house for my 6-year-old. Yes, definitely. Temptations, chocolate, 100%. Yeah, a bit of a comfort eater, definitely. Eating rubbish when I've had a drink. I love that, very honest. There is science behind that, actually. the alcohol alters something in the brain that essentially doesn't know that we're not hungry and we're full. So it's a bit difficult to fight that one. And Mary says takeaways after long days, definitely an easy option. Yeah. Okay, interesting. So thank you for sharing. I'll hopefully give some tips as we go, but by all means ask questions as we go if I've not covered something and you really do want a tip. So next slide. Okay. So the things I've listed here, as I say, they really are just kind of scratching the surface. I could talk for a week on each of these subjects, and we've kind of only covered the surface level. So very much highlights, but some of the core principles of healthy eating, I think it's very easy for us to overcomplicate nutrition. We can get into the absolute nitty-gritty of this particular micronutrient that we've never heard about and all the things that it does. But I think, and of course, in my trade, I need to know those things, and I do talk about those when they're relevant. But I think the vast majority of people, when they get the core principles right, most people see quite significant, if not profound, changes in health. So we can keep it quite simple, which is good news. So sugar, you're probably expecting me to say that it's the devil, it's the enemy, we demonize it. I'm not going to strictly say that. I'm going to say a balanced view. So we actually need sugar, glucose. We need it to fuel the body and the brain. So we certainly don't want to demonize it. But where it tends to become problematic is obviously if we're having too much of it, which unfortunately is something that we're seeing a lot now. When we have too much of it, it causes, inflammation in the body. It contributes to the growth of cancer, the replication of cancer cells because it fuels them. Obviously things like weight gain and obesity is associated with it, type 2 diabetes, fatty liver, heart disease, mood disorders. I mean, the list goes on and on. So clearly a balance is what we're looking for. We don't want too little, we don't want too much. My word of warning with sugar is, if I said to you guys, look, do you want a bag of Haribo? You could make an informed decision and say yes or no, because you're very well aware that a bag of Haribo, as delicious as they are not a healthy choice. So you're making an informed choice if you say yes, because it's full of sugar. If I said to you, did you know that one can of Heinz tomato soup has over 20 grams of sugar in? You'd probably say, I didn't realize that. And much like I used to do before I knew this stuff, you're kind of having this arguably quite a depressing lunch option. Kind of Heinz soup for me it doesn't inspire me. It certainly doesn't keep me full for very long or satisfy my appetite. And I'd be eating it thinking I was making a healthy choice, and actually it turned out I was basically having, tomato sugar water. Great. So be really careful. Read ingredients lists. If it says sugar on them, particularly high up in the list, be careful. Another place that sugar tends to hide is things like store-bought smoothies, even green ones that look and claim to be super, super healthy. Just be careful because they can have quite a lot. I can't remember the name of the brand. It might be Naked, but it's commonly in the Tesco meal deal, and it's a tiny bottle. Does someone know which brand that is?
I think it is Naked. Yeah.
Is it Naked?
Yeah, I think you're right. That's not good, is it? I normally try and pick that for my daughter.
I actually think Sylvia's correct. Innocent, because I remember looking at the Innocent thing, thinking it's called Innocent. You think it's going to be really good, but it's actually full of loads of like sugar and shit, basically.
Yeah, it's just about being mindful and kind of knowing what to look for. There is sugar in fruit, we can't avoid that, and there's nothing wrong with that. But again, it's just that informed decision is what I'm always sort of banging on about, because I want people to feel empowered. Knowledge really is power. And if you're wanting to make a healthy choice, and because of very clever marketing, you then end up making an unhealthy choice, or perhaps not as healthy as you wanted. I just don't think it's right, and I don't think it's fair. So read the ingredients, check how much sugar is in it. If you want a top tip for a meal deal, I mean, I don't love meal deals because it's normally ultra processed options, but try and pick something that's more of a whole food, so maybe like a chicken salad, something like that. Definitely things when you think of snacks, go for something like the hummus and the carrots. That's always a good one, or a protein pot. That's normally eggs and spinach. And then drinks wise, if it's not plain water or it's not coconut water, run away. Don't go for the smoothies, don't go for the diet drinks or the flavored water. That's just sweetener water. Stay a million miles away from that. So yeah, sugar, we just want to kind of be mindful of where it is. Other places to keep an eye are breakfast cereals, sauces and condiments. So just keep, like I say, we've mentioned the soup, just keep an eye out. Then,
Grace,
yeah.
can I just mention on the soup? So I knew about the tomato soup, it's just full of sugar, but it makes it, that's why I sort of think, because when you feel ill, you go, oh, I'll have loads of people say I'll have tomato soup because I feel better, because you're getting that sugar rush, aren't you? And like the sugar makes you feel better, but then it's like, then you just drop down again, don't you?
Yeah.
But then talking about the muesli and the branding and the marketing on these things, you know, innocent drinks. And then we look at the muesli. I used to always get that naturally something muesli, and it's full of sugar. It's called naturally blah blah, and it's really nicely branded, and it makes you think it's like a really good muesli. Like, no.
It's frightening. It's so true. I mean, the number of clients that I have a conversation with around essentially what you're having for breakfast is dessert. And they've been sold it as this specialist diet, weight loss, healthy cereal. You know, it's wrong, really. So yeah, definitely kind of have your wits about you, read the backs of them. There are some really nice brands that I can definitely recommend. I buy one sort of such as Lizzie's. That's low sugar, high protein, and it's not got many additives. It's obviously got a little bit of something because it has to have something for shelf life. But Lizzie's is a really nice brand. Bio and Me, that's from a gut health nutritionist. I can't remember her name now, but she's very good. Deliciously Ella stuff is normally pretty good as well. So there are some brands that you can have because, you know, if you don't want to make your own, there is that option.
I make my own. I just buy plain oats and I make my own now.
Yeah, and it is easy to do, but you know, if someone's really not a fan of, you know, rattling pots and pans together, then that's, I suppose, the next best thing. And it's convenient, you know, to have a bag there. But okay, so protein, again, I think it's quite misunderstood. I think it's something that, being very generalistic here, but typically what I see in clinic is guys have more than enough and girls don't get enough. You know, it's not just, protein is not just needed for building muscles and, you know, getting big muscles. There's, you know, hundreds of processes in the body that we need it for: immune function, energy. You know, it's quite vast. So we want to make sure we're getting enough. And a really nice rule of thumb to help you remember is, think of obviously your hand is you know, size wise is in proportion to your body size. So you want roughly a good fistful or handful of protein every meal. So an example of that might be, say, for brekkie, high protein, it might be some scrambled eggs and some grilled veggies. Breakfast of champions, going to keep you full for hours, you know, nourishing us, just going to help balance blood sugar. It's just a win. Snack wise, try to always, if you do have a snack, try to make sure you've got some protein there as well. It does help with blood sugar sort of regulation and kind of avoids those peaks and troughs. So a good snack idea would be any kind of berry, and ideally fresh and organic. But if that's not available, then, you know, frozen or, you know, non-organic. And you know, again, just a small palmful of nuts or seeds. So 5 or 6 walnuts, and I think with the berries you can pretty much fill your boots because they're naturally very low in sugar. Fibre, a bit of an unsung hero. We need about 30 grams a day, and the vast majority of people in the Western world on a classic Western diet, we're lucky if we get a third of that, to be honest. So fibre it's good for gut health, supports health of our bowel, but it also supports stable mood, you know, weight management, immunity, and again, much more. So try to make sure we're getting plenty of fibre in. The best sources of fibre are vegetables. There is some in fruit, but veggies are the best source alongside whole grains. So brown rice, quinoa, buckwheat, amaranth, oats, things like that. Now fats. Oops, I've clicked. Hang on, there we go. So fats. Again, this is something I could talk for hours about and barely sort of scratch the surface. I did do an Instagram live a few months back, which you can find on my feed, with much more detail about fats with a chef called Daniel Kirkham. So there is more to, you know, if it is something that you're particularly interested, do go and have a look at that one, because we do talk in detail about it. But the headlines here, back in the 50s, or whenever it was, 50s or 60s, the American Heart Association and organizations like that basically said, right, there's an increase in things like cardiovascular disease and obesity, strokes, etc., and it's all because of saturated fat. Well, the reality is it's not. Yes, if you eat too much saturated fats, that might be things like processed red meats. For example, if you're eating too much of that, eventually you will get those problems. So it's about, saturated fats are very good for us, but we need it in very small amounts. And we want to focus the majority of our intake on unsaturated fats. They're a little bit better for us, to be honest. And as we want more of those than we do the saturated. So examples of unsaturated fats would be nuts and seeds, avocados, olive oil. It would be butter, coconut oil. So we're not, and we do need certain amounts of fats in our bodies and in our diets to function. Without enough fats, we can have, reproductive problems. Women can lose their cycles and things like that. Skin, hair health, mood. It really does get affected. So don't want to be fat phobic, but we do want to get the fats from the right sources, and of course in moderation. The word of warning with these fats is trans fats. So essentially, think of any of the seed or vegetable oils that are touted as healthy, 1-calorie sprays. Think about your rapeseed oils, your sunflower oils, anything that's not cold pressed. Think of plant-based spreads and margarines that ironically, they normally have the little healthy heart symbol on them. Now, those were introduced after this revelation in the 50s about saturated fats. And the idea was that they were going to replace the fats that were making people have, heart attacks and strokes and gain weight. And the research shows categorically that has not helped. The introduction of these oils and sort of trans fats, they haven't by any stretch improved the prevalence or reduced the prevalence of those diseases. Actually, they've all increased exponentially. There's a lot of research out there about trans fats, but the message to take home today, if you take one thing home, it's avoid trans fats like the plague and go for real fats from real food. So butter is better than rapeseed oil, extra virgin olive oil, and coconut oil and ghee. Far better for us than the vegetable oils. The body doesn't recognize them, and they are shown to be associated with, ironically, cardiovascular diseases, obesity, heart attacks, strokes, all the things they were touted to not basically to, they were kind of touted as they won't do this, they're going to be a better alternative, and they're not. So just avoid those. That brings me on to the last point on here about ultra processed foods. You'll find trans fats on a very wide scale in ultra processed foods. So think of baked goods, for example, they're just rife in it, cereal bars, etc. So just always keep an eye and I always go back to just read the food label. If you start seeing things like rapeseed oil, vegetable oils, anything like that, just run a mile. Okay. So what can we do if we want to eat a little healthier? Well, this for me is probably the most important slide. I think it's very easy to expect huge, great changes from ourselves that are, to be quite frank, unrealistic and unsustainable. If you think of two parallel lines, if just one of them moves by a fraction of a degree, at the beginning you probably wouldn't even notice that, and it doesn't look like it's maybe worth the effort, or it's even kind of, like I say, probably not noticeable. But if you then go a year down the line, 5 years, 50 years down the line, those two parallel lines will eventually be miles apart. And the same is true of your health. I think it's easy for people to think, or it's common, I should say, for people to think, and I do hear this a lot from my clients, which is, well, I want to achieve this, so I need to do all these things. And I'll just say, hang on a minute, let's just pick one thing that is, let's prioritize the right thing for you, but pick one thing, let's do it and do it really well. Let's get it part of your habits and your routine and so well embedded that it doesn't need any real thought. And then we'll pick something else. And that is far better than trying to do 10 things and then not doing any of them well. So it's really about, look, follow the core principles as best that you can. So keep an eye on the sugar, try to switch out some of the ultra processed stuff for a whole food alternative where possible, things like that. Have a bit more fiber, have a bit more protein, but have it as like an 80-20 rule. It's a rule of thumb. If 80% of the time we're trying to eat from a whole food, eat a whole food diet and try to follow the core principles about 80% of the time, being realistic about 20% of the time, even for the best eaters around, it's going to be realistic that they have about 20% of their diet that we're not following the core principles, or UPF is creeping in, and that's perfectly normal and okay. So, there's no forbidden foods, there's nothing, with the exception of something that you can't have for medical reasons. So, for example, I have celiac disease, so I cannot eat gluten. But with the exception of things like that, I don't believe in any forbidden foods. There's nothing I won't have if I want it. It's just about moderation and balance. So an example might be, if I know I'm going out tomorrow night I'm going to my parents' house and we're having a 3-course meal with a chef come round. It's a real special occasion for us. We're all really excited. The nieces and nephews will be there. It's going to be lovely. I know I'm going to have quite a bit to eat. A 3-course meal, I wouldn't typically have that. So at lunchtime tomorrow, I'm probably going to have something a little bit lighter because I just don't want to overeat and then feel sluggish or, what have you. So it's just about kind of making each decision from a place of moderation and balance. And again, I always say this, it's progress, not perfection. And as an example, when we say change one thing, it could be something as simple as say, right, do you know what? Grace mentioned high protein breakfast. I'm going to switch mine to a different cereal. I'm going to swap my Weetabix for the Lizzie's granola, for example, or I'm gonna switch to having the eggs and the grilled veg for a few weeks and see if I can get that bedded in. That might not seem like a big change, but that's over 30% of your weekly diet. So we said before about a fraction of a change, 1% change. That in its own right, just changing brekkie, that's 30% change. So I think I just like to kind of point that out because I think this stuff, like I said, it can very much feel like it's insurmountable. And if you just pick one thing and do it really well, it's definitely the way to get sustainable results. Before I dive into Christmas, has anyone got any questions about that? I'm just going to check the chat box. This is great, Grace. Question for when you get to this part is the foods. What foods are good for fibre, please? Yeah, so definitely whole grains, Amanda. So like I said, the more complex carbohydrates. So brown rice, whole rolled oats. If you're gluten-free like me, it's gluten-free oats, but still oats are very good for us. Things like pasta are okay in moderation. And again, always try to go for more of like a whole meal option or vegetable-based ones, for example, like lentil fusilli, that's pea-based fusilli, things like that. That's always a good option. And then the veggies. Definitely a veggies. And you've also asked, I would also like to know what you think about the Real brand. It's pretty good actually. It's quite clean. It's quite the ingredients are pretty nice. I think it's a sensible price point. So I'm a fan. I've actually got one of them. I can't remember the name of it. I think it's the red one. I think it's a hormone balancing one, but I've not tried it yet. It's in my drawers downstairs. So when I do try it, I'll let you know. Any more questions before I dive into the next section on Christmas? No. Okay, brilliant. So Christmas is one of those ones that I think some people can get, like I say, certainly in clinic, people get quite worried about because they think, they've worked really hard and Christmas is going to sort of derail them. And I totally get where they're coming from with that. So a very similar message to what I was just saying about kind of, no forbidden foods. I don't really believe in restricting ourselves. It's just about balance, moderation, making a sensible choice for you at the time. So a few top tips. So creating a balanced plate. So we think of, whether it's the actual sit down Christmas meal or the Boxing Day buffet, something like that. A really good way of just kind of setting off with a sort of on the right foot, if you like, is if you picture your plate, if you create pile half of it with vegetable-based items, so it could be roast carrots, roast parsnips, things like that, then that's going to provide tons of fibre, tons of nutrients. It's very low sugar, so it's not going to affect blood sugars, and it's going to keep you full and satiated. So it's an absolute win, and that goes for all your meals, to be honest. 50% of the plate should be veggies. And then the other parts of the plate, it's kind of protein. So typically that might be, I don't know, pigs in blankets, roast turkey, whatever it is that you may have, and nut roast maybe if you're not having meat. So have that as sort of 25% of your plate, very roughly speaking. And then the other 25% normally, again, generally is sort of think of it as like carbs and starches. So yes, there's carbs and starches in some veggies. So it's never an exact science. It doesn't need to be. But just think of it as try not to have the meat and the pile of mashed potato as the main event and veggies are like a condiment on the side. Try and just shift the balance so that the veggies are more like the main event, which I know is different for a lot of people. It certainly is from how I brought up. It's a different way of looking at it. In terms of sort of the socializing aspect and festivities, top tips to prevent things like snacking where we're not mindful of it. There's nothing wrong with having a snack, but I know myself, it's very easy to be, you sort of have half a bowl of crisps while you're talking to someone at a party and you think, oh, I didn't even almost realize how much I've had and I wasn't even hungry maybe. So just bringing that degree of mindfulness to it. So to help things like that, yeah, we can try to be mindful in the moment, but to kind of set yourself up to succeed, have your high protein brekkie before you know, in the morning, or if you're going to it, if it's an evening thing, maybe have a high protein snack before you go if you know it's going to be kind of not the best spread, like party food and ultra processed stuff. And then you don't have to have as much of it and you'll be less tempted, for example. We've already mentioned about going heavy on the veg at Christmas dinner. Same goes for any festivities. If you're going out for a family meal, maybe you're going to local Italian and you want a big delicious steak and it comes with chips, no problems at all. So I would definitely have that. I'm actually going out in a couple of weeks with some family and I actually pre-ordered steak and chips, but I've ordered a side of veg as well, just to try to make it a little bit more balanced. You can still have the good stuff, but we want the sort of the nourishment too. Again, like I said right at the beginning, just be wise to condiments, gravies, sauces, things like that that are going to be quite high fat, high sugar, or high sweetener, which is worse. So just be mindful of those. You know, if you're really concerned, check the ingredients. But if you're going to have it, again, just be mindful of how much you're having of those. A little nice tip, which I don't know, it's kind of like the best kept secret. Has anybody tried kombucha? It's a naturally sparkling drink. I'm just going to check the chat in case anyone says, yes, I have. No. Okay. So kombucha is too scared. Yeah, I understand, Coral. I mean, I'll describe it to you with no frills. Kombucha is fermented bacteria water. Yeah, sounds horrendous, doesn't it? I put off trying it for a while because I thought, no, thank you. Essentially, it's a really tasty, delicious, and very, very good for your gut alternative to fizzy drinks and booze. So I'm not a big drinker. I very rarely have a drink, but quite often, you know, at a social event, you're on like your third glass of water and you think, oh, I'm just, no. So you want another drink and you think, I'm so hydrated. I'm done. I'm good. But it's nice to have something else. And I don't really want to go and have a fizzy drink or a pop or a soda or something. So kombucha is naturally sugar-free. As I say, it's got live bacteria, and think of like a Greek yogurt has bacteria in, you know, it's like that kind of thing. Certain cheeses do. So you don't see it or really taste it. It's not as horrendous as it sounds. They're actually really tasty. Just be mindful if you're going to try some, to try ones that don't have any added sugar or sweetener. So some brands that I love kombucha. Some of the brands that are my favorite are like Biona. It's organic, but they do a ginger one, which I used to quite like ginger beer. So it's a great replacement. So definitely try that one. And there's one called, I think it's Holos is how it's pronounced, like HOLOS. I'll type it in the chat later. But they're really nice ones, like I say, clean ingredients, loads of flavors, and love it. So just click to the next slide, conscious of time. That's just a nice quote that I like to remind myself of. Nobody regrets eating healthily. Okay, so before I just briefly mention my retreats and the corporate offerings that I have, I thought I'd just like to say to you guys, you know, thank you for listening. Obviously, my contact details will be shared on the last slide, and Pink Link have it anyhow. But you know, so you'll be able to contact me afterwards. But just for right now, I'd love to just know, has anybody got a commitment that they'd like to make to themselves? So like I said right at the beginning, just one thing. It doesn't have to be changing the earth. And I would certainly recommend actually that you don't try and do too much. Is it brekkie? Are you going to go and try kombucha? Mary says, I'm going to try kombucha. Yes. I've converted you. Love it. Okay.
I'm going to change brekkie. I've been meaning to for a while. So.
Brill. What are you going to swap from and to, do you think, Sylvia?
Well, I've been having yogurt, but I always end up putting a spoonful of jam, and I always think that's not the best thing to add into it. But some time ago, somebody said to me that for my metabolism, fish, spinach, and a bit of nuts would be the best breakfast to have, or eggs. And when I have done that in the past, I feel really well. So
yeah, it's quite light, but it's got all the components that your body needs. So yeah, it sounds
yeah.
great. Definitely. Anybody else? Alice, it's giving.
I just want to add, Sylvia, you can't beat kippers with eggs. Marks and Spencer's have the best kippers.
Ooh,
I love
good
them. The house
recommendation.
stinks when I make them, but kippers and eggs for breakfast with a bit of spinach.
Sounds good. Love that. Okay, I'm just going to scroll. So a few people saying they're going to try kombucha. Love that. Alice says more balance on her plate. That's a great one. Plan more. Yeah, get rid of all the oils and go back to real butter. Definitely, Lindsay, that is a huge change that will make it's a small change, but it makes a huge difference. Just a reminder on kind of things to cook with. Butter, ghee, coconut oil, or extra virgin olive oil are 4 of the best ones. Anything other than that, I would probably say not to use. Try and have a better breakfast. Yeah, Sarah. Usually have cereal or crumpets. Yeah, definitely. And I'm similar. Eat eggs or protein for breakfast. Definitely. Brilliant. Okay, well, thank you for sharing those. So, very quickly then, 2 exciting things to share. I've launched a 3rd sort of arm of my business, which is the luxury health and wellness retreats. Definitely had to put my big girl pants on for this. It was, it's one of those things I've kind of thought about and talked a little bit about for quite a long time. And I guess I just woke up a couple of months ago and thought, what am I waiting for? I should just kind of take the plunge and do it. So this is where this has come from. So the wellness retreats that I've got 2 booked for next year. This is the villa, actually, you can see in the background. So it's, it speaks for itself, the picture. It's absolutely glorious. All the bedrooms are, sort of super king size beds, master suites with private bathrooms. It's just very, very luxurious. There's a pool, tennis courts. It's got, you can see at the back there, it's got a little sort of outbuilding, and that's the gym. And then separately to that, it's got a yoga and dance indoor studio. It's also got an outdoor yoga deck because obviously the weather will be quite nice. The dates are going to be the 4 nights, both the retreats that I've booked. The first one is the 26th to the 30th of March. And the second one is the 1st to the 5th of October. So the bookings aren't open for October yet, just the March one. And we've had the first few bookings come through, which I'm really excited about. So if you are interested, I'm going to tell you a little bit more about them now, but if you are interested, there's an early bird offer that's running till next Friday. So if you do want to come, definitely let me know before then so we can make sure you take advantage of that saving. We're going to have, I'll tell you a little bit more about it. Let me click over to the exciting slide here. So we've got private chef. I mentioned his name before. We did the Instagram live about the healthy fats versus unhealthy fats. So it's Chef Dan Kirkham. He works a lot with Davinia Taylor, and he's the resident chef at her Will Powders company, who do the supplement company. He's done retreats, internationally for a while now. He has private clients that he cooks daily for, obviously back in the UK. He set up one of the first meal prep companies in the UK, and he was the first to send them nationwide and sort out all the logistics behind that and kind of basically he wouldn't say this because he's too modest, but he was basically the trailblazer for that. But he's really, really nice. He's coming over with me. We'll both be living in the villa with you. So you'll have access to a private chef of his caliber the whole time that we're there, and he's open kitchen. So you can come in, have a chat with him, ask questions, I'll give you tips, cooking demos. You can even give him a lift if you want to stir a few bits and pieces, and whatever you want to do, we'll be doing obviously access to me, nutrition chats, one-to-ones, whatever you want to do, we're kind of at your disposal. We'll have a minimum of 2 activities each day. Everything is optional, but they'll be there ready, kind of planned in and organised. So yoga, we've got a really grounding cacao ceremony with a sound bath at the beginning of the retreat, so that it's really, like I say, kind of we can drop into our bodies, set our intentions for the retreat. There's plenty of downtime, so you can go and explore the areas. And you can see the picture of the lady with the massages at the top. She is available to book sort of bolt-ons. If in the free time you think I'd love a holistic massage or something, we can book those for you. They both are running from a Wednesday afternoon until a Sunday, so it's only 3 days off work, assuming somebody's on normal office hours. It's 3 days annual leave, and it's not within school holidays. So if people have children that they have to fend for, then at least during school time they have a little bit, they've got a bit of a hand, because obviously the kids are at school from the Wednesday to the Saturday, Wednesday to the Friday. So where is it? It's in Spain. They're both at the same villa, which is the one we saw on the last slide. It's flying to Alicante, and then it's about an hour's drive northwards. You might have heard of the area. It's sort of the local area is called Benissa, but it's near to Calpe and Morera, which is quite popular with Brits. You might have heard of those places or even been to them. The villa can hold 26 people, but I'm limiting it to a maximum of 12 because I just want it to have that really sort of cozy, intimate vibe. And I think we could lose that if we, go any bigger. By all means, fire questions over at me while I'm chatting. I'll just keep an eye on the chat box, actually. But the investment for it, so it's if you want your own suite, so the master bedroom's there, 250, and that includes everything. So all the food, all the accommodation, all the activities, absolutely everything. The only thing that's not included are your flights and either your airport transfer or car hire, which I would recommend car hire because it's quite cheap actually out there to hire. So it won't be much different than the two sort of taxis there and back if you like. And it just gives you that freedom to get out and explore in your free time if you want to. And if you want to come with a friend, whether it's your mum, your sister, your auntie, your daughter, your whoever, you can either go in, you can still have your own rooms, but if you wanted to share, you can do twin occupancy, and that's 1,950, so it's a little bit less. And likewise, if you want to come by yourself, because I think quite a lot of people are going to be solo travelers. In fact, the ones that have booked so far are solo travelers. You can, if you're happy to bunk with somebody, be put with somebody else in a suite. We just split the beds in the room in a way that you have kind of a bit of your own space, but it's a shared room and you share the bathroom between two. Then again, we can do that, and that's that 1,950. So whether you come with someone or come by yourself, that twin occupancy is an option. Like I say, early bird ends next Friday, and that's £100 off the top. So just off the price, so whether it's 2,250 or 1,950, whichever rate you go for, it's just £100 off. I've got another live event on Instagram and LinkedIn tomorrow lunchtime with Chef Dan. So we'll be doing like a live Q&A and more updates and kind of announcements and what have you. So if you're interested and you want to know more, by all means, because obviously we're Pink Link, just give me a call. We can just chat. Or if you wanted to jump on that tomorrow, you're welcome to do that. And you can find the information on my Instagram and on my LinkedIn, and all the sort of the joining information is on there. Okay.
We are going to have to start to wrap up. I'm conscious of time, Grace, I'm afraid.
It's okay, last slide. So very briefly, the Workplace Wellbeing Collab is the corporate branch of my business. That's, as I mentioned right at the start, this is coming into businesses to deliver workshops on any topic to do with health and well-being. So nutrition, of course, is a big one. And you can see on the Meet the Team page in the middle, there's some other businesses I work alongside. So Mark at Wise Up, and Maria, Johnny and Gus at Workwell by Injury Mechanics. So you've probably heard of some of these local businesses, well, they're local to Bolton anyhow. So we go in and we offer our services. We do sort of full day and half day events. We do online options and kind of more ongoing strategic partnerships. So if it's something that you'd be interested in, again, we can chat offline. It's a really exciting time for us, actually. We've got Vimto booked in January. We've had a lot of SME bookings this year gone. So we kind of do businesses big and small, and we tailor the content to what you need. So we added one that was about health and safety, sleep and nutrition, and that was for shift working in a manufacturing business. For another business, it was all about simple swaps, free tasters for them to try those things. They tried the kombucha, they tried Lizzie's granola, and how to read food labels. So it really is tailored to you. So as I say, any questions around that, or if you think you could be interested, it might work for your business, give me a shout and we can obviously just have a little chat. And that is it from me. I think, am I 1 minute over? Coral, I'm impressed.
Thanks a lot. Has anybody got any questions?
I've not got a question. I just want to say that was really, really insightful. Thank you so much, Grace. I've learned a lot of things that I need to bear in mind. So thank you for your presentation.
Oh, I'm glad. Thanks, Alice.
Yeah, thank you. Really good.
Thanks.
I'll stop sharing. Hang on. Stop sharing.
Grace, Alice,
Thank
and
you.
Anne will share your information with the videos of this, and we'll share it to our members as well.
Yeah.
So
Great, thank you.
Yeah, they're all really sad that they can't come today. So they are really feeling reassured that they can listen to the masterclasses, and obviously they can get in touch with your workshops, etc. So thank you. I really enjoyed all that. Thank you.
could we take a quick photo before we finish? Sarah and Karen, I don't know whether, can you come off your camera so I can just take a quick photo? If not, I'll work some magic. Okay, on the count of 3, can everyone give me a smile? Okay, 1, 2, 3. I had forgot to count. So I'll put something on socials for this. But
Has
really,
everybody put their contact details into the chat?
Just doing mine now. Sorry, a second.
Carol, you're muted.
Sorry, I forgot. I put myself on mute. Lizzie, do you want to wrap up the final part of the presentation while they're just populating in
Yes.
chat?
Bear with me 1 second.
Thank you, Lizzie. I'd forgotten. I switched myself off.
Go on to here.
No wonder nobody could hear what I was saying. So funny.
So we have got some very exciting news that we're going to be sharing in the beginning of January. We are launching a new platform, which is called WIB 360, and the mentor program is going to be launched in the January. So if we have a wait list for the next sessions, which will be starting in June now, if you would like to join the wait list, please do. I'll send you some links so that you can follow up on that. You're like the first to hear about some of these things. We are going to be at Smash It in Bath with Alison Edgar, and she is known as the
fairy godmother of sales.
Fairy godmother of sales, but she's also the entrepreneur's godmother as well. So she is really, really fantastic when it comes to sales. And if you book through us, we've got a discount code to save 20% on the tickets. Then we have the EVAs. We are opening the EVAs early this time. So for the EVAs 2025, we are going to be launching on Monday, the 20th of January. So very excited for that.
Lizzie, can I just say, I've only just realised there were some sneaky people standing on stage, look.
They were the band.
Was that the band? Oh, that's okay then. I thought we were some sneaky people. I've had that before, haven't we? We had somebody jumped in one year.
Well, there was one year we had a photograph and Tanya Bardsley's dad was on it.
I wasn't going to say, but it was Tanya Bardsley's dad. Because she didn't win, did she? And her dad infiltrated our winner's picture. Going like that.
Yeah, photo bomb.
We had to erase him out of it, didn't we?
International Women's Day, we have got such an amazing lineup for you guys. We have got an early bird ticket. If you book before 31st of January, you can save £20 on exhibitor and fill day tickets. I can't wait. Coral and I and Lindsay were just talking about the lineup, and we've got some really, really exciting announcements to come. So don't miss that. That is at Leighton Hall where we had it last year, and it's going to be even bigger and better than last year. We've got an exhibitor tent. as well as masterclasses.
Hang on a
workshops.
second, Lizzie.
Yes.
I'm going to step in here very quickly
Please
and just
do.
say we have a luxury marquee for our exhibitors, which will also house the tea and coffee area, the refreshment area, so people can go in there and they can network. There's been no expense spared. It's fully kitted out with flooring, lighting, heating. So yeah, luxury marquee, actually, not
an exhibitor tent. Okay, I shall change my wording. Luxury marquee for exhibitors. But it's just the most beautiful, beautiful venue. And not only that, but we are going to be extending the event with an intimate dinner at Lakeside, which is on the banks of Lake Windermere. And we're going to be having an overnight stay there. And for anyone who has been to one of our dinners recently, it is, well, you'll be royally looked after. Beautiful.
Yeah. You are spoiled, treated like queens we are when we go there.
And business pictures, I think we've really been doing that along the way because we did that at the beginning. And that's it. So, Coral, I'm sure you'd like to just finish off here.
Just happy Christmas, everybody. You know, have a look, enjoy. Well, however you spend Christmas, your friends, family, loved ones, whatever it is, just enjoy your time. And I'm really looking forward to my Christmas Day dinner. I'm not making it, so that's why I'm looking forward to it this year. I'm not making it.
Does everybody know how to save the chat if they want to keep all the details?
Anybody not know? Maybe ask that one.
No, perfect.
So thank you, everybody. Thank you for working with us during this year. We look forward to continue working with you all next year. Wishing you a lovely Christmas and all the best for 2025. That's a wrap. Our last event of the year.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Christmas.
Thank you, ladies.
Bye.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm sad.